Good morning and welcome to the Oasis Center for Spiritual Living, where we come together as one, providing spiritual tools for daily living. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Reverend Tucker. I'm the senior minister here at the Oasis, and God has blessed me with this wonderful team that I always like to introduce because they are the bomb. First off is my lovely Faith, who's been my assistant since the day she was born. She used to sit on the podium with me when I would do announcements, and now she is going to be 18 in a couple of months and my official assistant, and yeah, she can't wait.
Seriously.
She's also our soloist, so tune in for the music because it's so good. Thank you, Faith.
Thank you.
And then there's my partner in crime, the wise and powerful Oz, who is making the journey from Wisconsin to Florida tomorrow.
Yep, long drive.
Yeah, I'm leaving on a plane, so it's good. My sister and I are going to Vegas. But anyway, Oz was my first baby practitioner. He took all of his training with me except for one class, ended up being my board president for a number of years, and moved away to Florida. We lost a little bit of cohesiveness during that time, but he's back with us now, and we are so blessed to have him. So he will be praying us in and praying us out, and he's available at the very end for our 1 minute miracle. So thank you, Oz, for being here. You are much appreciated. Okay, and the topic today is turn and face the change. Great topic. And I want to thank all of you who are here, whether in real time or later on, because there's 1,000 things you could be doing, and I'm glad you're here with us, celebrating with us. I also like to introduce the music team, is what I call them, because they have gifted us with their music so that we can have music every Sunday morning. It just makes it so much more, intimate, I think, to be able to have the music like we do when we're in a facility. So that is the Reverend Fairy Elaine Silver, who we will sing her song in a little while. We Are All One, but we do songs of hers. And then Karen Drucker, at the end we do I Am So Blessed, as we bless our money. And that is Karen Drucker's song, but we always use Karen Drucker's songs. She provided us with karaoke and everything so that the music is really beautiful. So thank you to that team. If you're here, please say hello, good morning, hi, how are you? However you would like to greet us. When we're in a facility, I can look out and see who's here. But with the software, I don't have that capability. So I always appreciate knowing who is here with us. If you would like to do a watch party so your friends can experience what kind of talks they'll receive, also so you can talk back and forth without disturbing anybody, there's a watch party button. Click on that. Oz always does a watch party with his friends, and it's great. They get to ask questions that they wouldn't normally be able to ask or that may not come up in normal conversation while I'm speaking. So it's a great way for your friends to know what's going on here. So, and again, you can't bother anybody, so why not, right? I'd like to invite you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Allow the service to uplift and inspire you as we move into our centering song.
Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power at the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
The presence of God, right here, right now. For God is ever present, eternal, and in all things as all things, in me, in you, in everything we encounter, all expressing that one divine infinite force that brings life and gives life and creates life anew in every moment. There's no place that God is not, and that includes right here, right now, whenever and wherever you are. I know that it brings blessings and perfection if we allow. And I allow that perfection to flow forth into our lives at this very moment and for the future. I know this is good and very good, and all things come forth from it. And I let those things roll forth and manifest. And I give great thanks that it is so, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you so much, Oz. Okay, this next song is one that if you know the words, sing it loud and sing it proud. And if you don't know it, make it part of your experience, because We Are All One is basically, in a nutshell, what we believe. And this is Reverend Fairy Elaine Silver's song. And so we sing it every Sunday because it is what we teach. So here you go.
We are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. I hear it and know it, my being. Spirit is all I am seeing. For God is all there is. Grateful am I to be living, open to what I receive, honoring what I've been given, sharing now what I believe. I remember the oneness around me. I surrender to infinite light, knowing the love that's surrounding me is within me by day and night. And we are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. Yes, we are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it.
If you're here, please say hi, good morning, hello, however you'd like to greet us, just so I know who's here. I always like to look and see who's here for this. And are we not doing Angel Renee? Just saying. Anyway, if you like something that you hear, either something I say or in the prayer that Oz does, or something that Faith is singing, use that like button, that thumbs up. And if you love something, we love to get love, so use the heart. And if something I say really strikes you as powerful, let me know that I'm on target by doing the wow button, okay? It's really good feedback that I could use so that I become a better speaker for you. So without further ado, let me introduce Faith, singing a David Bowie song, actually, today. Turn and Face the Strange, or Turn and Face the Change. I don't know. Is it
Changes.
Changes. That's right. It's called Changes, but it's, yeah. Okay. I mess it up every week. Whatever. All right. Here is Faith.
Thank you. time was running wild. Million dead end streets every time I thought I'd get me. But it turned out that the taste wasn't so sweet. So I turned myself to face me, but I never caught a glimpse of a faker. I must move too fast to take the test. Changes. Don't wanna be a rich man. Changes. Changes. Gonna have to be a different man. Time may change me, but I can't chase time. I watch the ripples change their size, but never leave the stream of warm embrace. And so days I flow through my eyes, but still see the days seem the same. And these children that you spit on as they try to change their words are immune to your constellation. They're gonna quit being aware. They get throwing changes. Changes. Don't try to take them and grow out of it. Changes. Changes. Where's your shame? Where's the deep? Time may change me, but I can't chase time. Strange fascination fascinating me. Changes are taking the pace. I'm going through changes. Look how you rock your rovers. Changes. Changes. Pretty soon you're gonna get over. The time may change me, but I can't trace time. And I think it may change me, but I can't trace time.
I can't tell. I could not tell if that was the end of the song or not. It was the end of the song, right?
Yes.
Okay. You know, he does those interludes, you know, and sometimes they go on forever. So
Sometimes they do.
thank you so much, Faith.
Thank you.
That was awesome. So the last time I did a sermon on this topic, I had Tina sing Winds of Change by Karen Drucker from The Joy of Love. Because this topic, turn and face the change, is so important how we perceive those changes. The Winds of Change says, take me with you, I'm ready to go. Let the winds of change shape and blow. I'm willing to see another part of me. Take me with you, I'm ready to go. Let the winds of change shape and blow. I'm willing to start a brand new chapter of my heart. Take me with you, I'm ready to go. Let the winds of change shape and blow. I am willing to make a choice. This new path needs my voice. Take me with you, I'm ready to go. And the reason that I say that the winds of change is a really good metaphor for what's going on is the winds of change right now are really blowing. I don't know how many of you have noticed, but the winds of change have really been blowing. Changes from the coronavirus, changes from in political realms, changes. God, everything is changing. Our systems seem to appear to be breaking down. Please let me clarify that it's an appearance only. You know, the all the stuff that's happening at the port where the trailers are not getting offloaded into the trucks. That's one of those changes that the winds of change are blowing that, and airlines canceling flights and all of this stuff that's going on. Our entire structure of how we've perceived our reality has changed because the winds of change are blowing, right? And what's interesting about that is you can either resist it or you can go with it, right? I mean, Lynn and I studied with, Reverend Lynn and I studied with a Native American holy man for like 12 years for the Red Path. And one of the main lessons that I got from that teaching was that you want to make wind your ally, because you go out into the wind and what do you do right away? You steel yourself against it and you try to keep it from coming in, and you're just struggling with it, right? And when we do that, we're cold, number one, and struggle always makes us unhappy. I'll get to that in a minute. But so what I learned was, if you sit in the wind and you open yourself to it and let it blow through you, it becomes your ally. And when it becomes your ally, it teams up with you to create miracles. So we want to embrace the winds of change and let it flow through us. Because what we resist persists, right? Have you ever been in that situation where you're just cold as you could be and you're steeling yourself against that wind, and it seems like it just gets stronger and stronger and colder and you're miserable, right? So what Dr. Ernest Holmes, our founder, says is what we resist persists. And so that's what we teach. So I want to do a little quick exercise with you. Please, if you have hand or wrist issues, do not do this exercise, all right? But if your hand and your arm are okay, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take your hand and put it behind you like this. And then take your other hand. Let's see, I'm going to do it this way. Take your other hand and you're going to push it down. You want your elbow to be up a little bit. Push it down to where you're not in pain, but you're on that verge of pain. And I want you to notice where your hand is. Okay. Now close your eyes. Take in a nice, deep, cleansing breath. Hold it and release. Take in another really deep, cleansing breath. Hold it and release. And I want you to just breathe normally, but I want you to kind of tickle your arm. Get it to relax. Tickle your arm. You want to keep it up here. Tickle your arm. Keep your eyes closed. Just tickle your arm. Take in another deep cleansing breath. Hold it and release. And now I want you to open your eyes, take your hand, and push down. Do you notice how much further your hand goes down? Like it's touching my shoulder. Even if I put my hand up or my arm up, it's still much further than it was. Okay, release that. If you're stressing and straining, like you do with wind, for example, what you resist persists. So you continue to be cold. You continue to be not in a good space about it. But when you open to it, when you allow yourself to relax and let it flow through you, then you finally get to feel what it's like to feel the power of the wind through you. Now, in my classes, almost everything I do, I like to do things so all of your senses are involved. For instance, I'm talking about this and I'm explaining it, so you're getting an audient message. I show you, and so you're getting a visual message. I have you do an exercise that's physical, so you get a feeling of it. And the way I figure it is the more ways we can use our senses, the more modalities that we can allow ourselves to experience what I'm teaching, the better we can embody and absorb the message, the teaching, right? So if we don't struggle against the winds of change, if we can just allow it to move through us, to embrace it, to turn and face it, we'll be a lot happier. If not, we suffer. Now, Ram Dass says pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And that is really true. Like, there is pain when there's change. There's always going to be pain when there's change. And I'll get to that in a minute. But we don't have to suffer with it, because when we resist change, we suffer. And our world is all about change right now. Coronavirus is a perfect example. It has completely changed our reality, right? I mean, I was talking to my neighbor next door and I was saying, gosh, you know, I love my little neighborhood because nothing ever changes. I love my office because nothing really changes. I can count on those experiences to give me some sense of security. And the only thing that really changed the office for us was the coronavirus, when we were shut down and then we couldn't reopen all the way because we couldn't 6 foot socially distance from people. And what I noticed is how much of our reality has now changed as a result of this coronavirus. And we can either struggle against it. I'm not going to wear a mask. I'm not going to social distance. We can struggle against it. How happy are we? Not really very. A lot of times we're angry, we're afraid. We have all these mixed emotions built in there because we're afraid of the change. We're afraid of giving into it. Or you can embrace the fact that there's less activity, that you have more time for meditation and prayer, that you have more time to be with yourself or your spouse or your children. We can embrace that. And when we do, sooner or later, this too shall pass, because everything always passes, right? This too shall pass. And we just have to sit in the moment and relax and allow it to come through us. We embrace it and make it our ally. So I love the serenity prayer because it's a perfect example of all of this. You know, God grant me the security to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, right? We can be serene in knowing that we can't change something. We can't will away the coronavirus. There are some things we just cannot change. We cannot will away the political changes that are happening around the world. We cannot will away the violence that is happening everywhere. We can't will all of that away. I'm not saying give in to the virus. I'm saying practice serenity with it, knowing that you can't change it. You can't will it away. You can't will any of these things away. So if you practice serenity, then you're happy. No matter what's going on in the world, you're happy. And isn't that really our aim? I think we came to this world so that we could learn how to be happy no matter what's going on in the world, right? I think that's part of the plan here. And there are some things we can change. Our feelings, our beliefs, our perceptions, but it does take courage to do that, right? It takes courage to change because even if it's a change you want, you're going to have some grief over what was once, but is no longer. For instance, getting married. Excuse me. You know, when you get married, you think, oh my God, everything's going to be beautiful. Everything's going to change, you know. And probably for the honeymoon period, that's true. At some point, you're going to start grieving what it was like to be single. Because you realize you want to be with that person. You really want this. You want the marriage. You want to be with this person. You really want this experience. But there's a part of you that realizes there are experiences you will no longer be able to have. Think about what the settlers went through. Moving from like Oklahoma to California is a perfect example. How different that must have felt, looked, and how much they must have missed their ways, their way of life in Oklahoma, even if being in California was a good change that they were welcoming, right? But there was still things that they would miss. They would miss their family. They would miss their friends. They would miss their way of life there. And everything would be different in California. And although it's a better life for them, there's going to be a little bit of grief. Now, here's for those people who want to turn 18 too fast. Let me just explain to you the process here. Because I went through it. Everybody that ever turned 18 has gone through this process. I will tell you that right now. You strive and want it, and you desperately want it, and you can't wait till you're 18 because everything's going to be perfect when you're 18. You turn 18 and you realize adulting is not what it looked like from the outside. Adulting is having to compromise your lifestyle because you are then needing to pay for things. So you're having to work more. So you're not able to do a lot of the fun things that you were used to doing. So all of a sudden you start to grieve your childhood. right? But when you're in your childhood, you really want that adult life, right? Where the grass is always greener. And when we reach 18 and we can vote and we can do all these things, then all of a sudden we're like, yeah, but when I was a child, I didn't have to worry about bills, right? You know, I didn't have to like curtail my activities because I needed that money for rent or utilities or whatever that I now need. And, you know, I'm not just poking at you, Faith, I promise. This was already in my sermon. It's just I was realizing as I was thinking about all of this, you know, marriage is one of the perfect examples. Turning 18 is another one. Remembering what the settlers went through is another one. Because it's change that we consciously want. It's change that we have decided we want to make. But then there's always that part of us that goes, there were some things I liked about that other life, right? And then the wisdom to know what you can change and what you can't change. Those are the three parts of that. Once you have serenity, courage, and wisdom, then you can launch off into change itself, because you now have the serenity. You now know what you can change and what you can't change. And you now have the courage to move forward and make those changes. There are three types of change. There's conscious change, like we decide to stop smoking or eat better so we have a healthier life. Or we decide to talk to people we don't know so we can enlarge our circle of friends. Or we decide to let people in to love us so we can experience love to the fullest extent. Or we decide to tithe to start the flow of circulation in our financial affairs so we can experience prosperity. All of these are conscious changes. We decide to change our beliefs. Maybe so we are abundantly financially in prosperity, or so we can experience love to the fullest extent, or so we can enjoy the benefit from the lifestyle of a healthy body and a healthy mind. All of these are conscious changes that we make. And we always look forward to these changes, knowing full well that there's going to be a little grief that goes along with it, because every change we make changes our reality. And you know, there are comforts in the past. There are comforts in the way we have lived, right? We're comfortable. We may not like our lifestyle, but we're comfortable, you see. So the second type of change is subjective or subconscious change. And this change appears to come from the outside, but it's not really from the outside. Let me grab my religious science symbol here, because it's a really good, this is our teaching symbol. And it's really important at this point that I talk about this, because this really is the process of creation, whether it's conscious change or subjective or subconscious change. This teaching symbol really illustrates what it is. So first we come to the circle, the unbroken unity of God, or the idea that God is changeless. There is no changing up on us. It's changeless. And that's the one thing we can count on. No matter what changes are going on in our life, we know that we can rely on God, be changeless. And then even though you can't part out God, we have broken it into three parts to be illustrative of what the creative process is. That upper part is the conscious mind, and that's where we have the idea or the decision to change, or you know, how the human mind works is I come up with an idea, I want to change something, and it flows through the subjective material, which is, in the human sense, is like a computer hard drive, where we have recorded every experience we've ever had and our reactions to it, and we have created our beliefs from that. In God's mind, the conscious mind is the idea of birth, say, for example, the idea of creation. And it's the subjective material in the middle is what it creates from itself, the subjective material of itself. And then the third portion is form. And in human, the form is the experience that we have created. And in God's mind, it is how the world was created. It came into being, and you see this world. This is actually the manifestation of God's thought through its subjective stuff to create the world that we see. Also note that there is a V that reaches from the subject or from the conscious mind through the subjective material into form and then returns back into the nothingness from which it came. So I like to think of it as in God's reality. Let's just put it that way. In God's creation of the world, it's like putting a seed in that top part. That's the seed going into the soil, which is the middle part, creating the flower, and then the flower goes dormant and goes back to the nothingness from which it came. That is the process of creation. So let me talk a little bit about the human experience with this, because both human and divine intelligence operate the same way. So the top is consciousness. It's conscious thought. The middle part is the subjective mind, where we've stored the memory of everything that's happened to us and created our beliefs. In our beginning classes, we use Play-Doh to signify that middle substance. And the reason we do that is because, again, I think if you get an audience, you get the sound of what I'm saying, you also get the visual of playing with the Play-Doh and the feeling of playing with the Play-Doh. And so we have them decide what they want to create, and we have them make it out of the Play-Doh. And we talk about that being the middle portion. And then when they've designed whatever it is or created whatever it is, that's the form, the bottom part. And what it teaches us then is how we manifest in our lives, how we use that subjective mind to actually create. Now, there's subjective, unconscious, subconscious change, whatever you want to call it, that happens. And sometimes it's good, not always, but sometimes it's good. Usually it's challenging, to say the least, when it gets created without our conscious thought. It's good in like driving. You know, you want to get to that place where it's on automatic, right? When you first started driving, you had to think about looking in the mirror and watching the road and putting your hands on the steering wheel and turning the steering wheel and putting your foot on the brake or the gas pedal. You had to think about all of these things. Well, at some point that in the subjective material becomes automatic. And then there's these things that it appears to be from the outside, even though it's really not. For instance, when I was working for Scientific Software, it was really interesting because there was probably a good year where I was so miserable. I would get up in the morning. I'm not really a morning girl. I mean, I'm up, but I'm not like up. But I would get up at 6 in the morning and have to be at work at 7:30. And I had to go downtown to be at work. So there was a certain amount of trepidation and resistance and just resentment that I had to do that. And I would get to work, and I was in this little cubicle. And they did coffee breaks at like 10 o'clock. Everybody had to stop what they were doing and take a coffee break. Well, that didn't really work for me because I'm kind of a workaholic. And once I get into the flow of working, I like to keep going. And then right at 11 o'clock, we were supposed to take lunch. And then we'd take an hour for lunch. And then we were supposed to take another coffee break at like 2. And then we got off work at like 3:30. And, you know, that doesn't work for the way I work, right? And so when Scientific Software and Intercomp merged, they went through the process of removing all the duplicates of everybody, right? So I spent this entire year being afraid to look for another job, being afraid of quitting this job and moving on to another job because, oh my God, I may not find a job that is, you know, pays this well or that I enjoy. I was an assistant technical writer. And so when Intercomp and Scientific Software merged, they went through all the duplicate positions and they decided based on qualifications. Well, I was one class away from a degree in computer science because I took all the language ones first so that I could do my assistant technical writer job. And all that was left was intro to computers, and I could not make myself do that class. It was just, and so this one woman from Intercomp had a degree, and she was the assistant technical writer. So they kept the technical writer, my boss, and they kept her, and they laid me off. So we all knew the change was coming. We all knew, and I was pretty certain I was going to get laid off. So I called Lynn, and he came, and we packed up my boxes and from my cubicle, all my personal stuff, and we left, and we went to go see the very first showing of Star Trek, or not Star Trek. Yeah, Star Trek. And not Star Trek. Anyway, and we're standing in line because there's a huge line because it was the first day, and Star Wars, that's what it was. And we're standing in line, and all of a sudden I realized I was breathing. I felt relaxed. My shoulders were finally relaxed. I just felt like, woohoo, life is good. And what I realized, I guess I can get this down now. What I realized was that was a change that was, it appeared to be from the outside, but it was really me inside going, you need to leave this place. This is not good for you. And so all of these things happened, and it looked like it was from the outside, but it was really an inner directed change. And that's kind of what happens on the positive side of when you have a subjective or subconscious creation. Now, some of the negative things that happen are that you create a job, like I did with this PR firm, where I cried almost every day. And I realized that at some point that I had a belief that said I wasn't good enough to have a job where I was happy. It was good money. It was a lot of responsibility. I was office manager for this PR firm. I got to write press releases. I got to manage the bookkeeping and all of that. I managed the office. There's only 5 people in the office. Now, she replaced everybody. In 6 months, we had been through 23 people. That gives you an idea of what the environment was like. But there was some belief inside of me that said I couldn't have it all. I couldn't be happy and make money and enjoy myself at my job and, do something that was enjoyable for me. And then, so we need to look at where we create, like, have you ever been in one relationship and you leave that relationship and you find yourself in exactly the same relationship? The face has changed, but you're the same person. That's because there's a belief in us that says this is what a relationship looks like. And we have to change those beliefs in order for that relationship with someone else to be a better relationship. We attract to ourselves someone who's going to be better to us. So those are the types of subjective or unconscious changes that happen. And what it looks like, you see here on the teaching symbol, it goes from conscious mind through subjective mind to form and then back up to nothingness. Well, what the unconscious creations look like is they don't even touch this upper portion. They start right here in subjective mind, go down into form. We recognize them and go, oh gosh, I don't like that. And then they go back to the nothingness from which they came, back into the subjective material. But we never actually have a conscious thought involved at all. So that is the subconscious or unconscious, or unconscious change that appears to come from the outside. Hang on, my bracelet fell off. I always talk about it never falling off. I was playing with it. The third type of change is change that really is from outside in. Okay. Coronavirus is one of those changes, right? I didn't do anything. You didn't do anything to create this coronavirus. Nobody did anything to create the coronavirus. But it happened. There's also in Texas and Washington, there is this killer strain of a fungus that's bloodborne, and people are dying from it. It can't be treated with antifungals. And I started thinking about that and the coronavirus and all of those things. And I realized that some of the changes that we have done to the earth have caused a lot of things. It's almost like the earth is trying to show us, hey, listen, pay attention. Your world needs you to change your ways or something like that, right? But that is change from the outside in. That is truly being generated from outside. And those changes that have been thrust upon us without our conscious or unconscious creation of it, what's important to remember with that kind of challenge is not to get angry or afraid, because that's our first response to any of that, right? I have no control. Oh my God. And so we become angry or we become afraid. And then if we allow it, like I said earlier, if we allow it to just be with serenity and we embrace it and we become an ally of it, it no longer has the ability to make us angry or afraid. Instead, we're able to sit in peace and accept that this is our new reality. Since there's nothing we can do to change it, it doesn't really matter, right? Again, the serenity to realize that there are things we cannot change, the courage to know what we can change, and the wisdom to know the difference. Wearing a mask, social distancing. I'm not going to lie to you, it's not an easy thing. I didn't see my family for almost 2 years. Now I'm, playing with my sister a little bit because we're both vaccinated. And so now I can hug her. Now I can, go to Vegas with her and feel safe in the room with her. But it took almost 2 years for that to be the truth. And then, my nephews who are refusing to get vaccinated, I may never be able to see them again. We see each other on video chat or Zoom or whatever, but we'll never be allowed to be in public again or in, person to person until either this virus burns out or they choose to get vaccinated, you see. And so I'm not going to say it's a happy thing or it's easy. But I try to remember, even though it feels strange to me, that I need to embrace that strangeness. Turn and face the change. Turn and face the strange. I did a series a while back about Marissa Pearson, who I was taking a hypnotherapy class from. And one of the things she said is, in order to make a change in your life, you have to make familiar things unfamiliar and unfamiliar things familiar. That's the only way you can make a change. So, for instance, you go to the gym for the first time and everything you do feels strange to your body, right? But if you go, it takes 21 days to make a habit out of something. If you go every day or every other day and you do this for 21 days, then the working out becomes, it feels familiar all of a sudden, and it becomes easier and easier. Whereas if you feel familiar with eating poorly, you will revert back to that anytime you want comfort, because that's familiar. So you want to make that unfamiliar. And how you do that is by making something else familiar, like eating well. And when you start to notice the changes in your body from eating well, noticing, for instance, you don't cough anymore, or you're losing weight instead of gaining weight, or you're able to make it up the stairs without being breathless, or any of those changes that happen as a result of eating well, then that becomes familiar, and the improper eating or the things that are not as healthy for you become unfamiliar. And when that happens, you've actually made a change. See, there's a difference between making a change and thinking about making a change. When I think about eating better, I'm thinking about making a change. When I actually make that change and make something familiar that is unfamiliar and make something unfamiliar that is familiar, then I've actually made that change. And we always seem to go towards what is familiar. We always go towards that which is comfortable. And we always pull away from that which is uncomfortable or unfamiliar. And so it's a change in attitude about what is unfamiliar. I remember years ago, I was getting a massage from Hansa, and she was having to do some deep work, and it was painful. It was very, very painful. And the more she worked, I knew she needed to go get in there and really work it. But the more she worked, the more painful it became, the more I pulled away. And she's finally said to me, stop pulling away from me. I can't get in there and do what I need to do. She wanted me to breathe, take a deep breath and breathe into the pain, which sounded very unfamiliar to me. I'm sure it does to you. But it taught me a valuable lesson about life, because whenever I get into resistance about something, I remember to breathe and allow it, right? Take that deep belly breath from deep, deep within and just relax into it, allowing it to be a little painful. I trust me, you won't suffer anymore, because this suffering actually comes from that resistance. And if I can relax and allow it to be, then it might be a little painful, but we're not going back to what wronged us. Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. And that's one of the ways that we can create a situation where we don't have to suffer. And like I said, nobody's going to tell you it's a walk in the park to social distance or to wear a mask or get a vaccine that you may not think is ready yet. Whatever people are perceiving that to be. You're going to embrace the change. And no, it's not going to be simple and easy and comfortable. However, once you adjust to it, you find that your life is a lot easier, right? You're not suffering anymore. And that's really what we want to get to. We want to embrace the strange things, the unfamiliar things. We want to embrace those things that represent that change, because we do know that when we turn and face it, when we make a friend of it, it no longer has the power to hurt us. And so when we talk about change, it's those three types of change that I mean. Again, that's conscious change, where we initiate it. There's subjective change, which we initiate but feels like somebody else is forcing it on us. And then there's the third type of change, which is something that happens on the outside for everybody. And what we can change in that situation is our feelings about it, our emotions. So that's what we're going to be working on. All right. Let's see, I've skipped ahead so much. I can't remember. I do my little outlines and then I just sort of talk. And then I just want to make sure I got everything. Oh, linear time. So one of the things that I want to talk about is how, yes, I've said that God is changeless, but God is also timeless. We have created a concept of time so that we have a sense about how everything works. God has no sense of time. God has no time limitations. It's not that it takes time for something to change. That's an inaccurate viewpoint. What it is it takes time for our perception of things to change. That's our timeline. God changes things instantaneously, right? All we have to do is be willing to open to it and embrace it and say, okay, I'm ready, And when we do that, everything changes. But we tend to go, I'm ready. No, I'm not. I'm ready. No, I'm not. I'm ready. No, I'm not. And so the time that it takes for something to change is really about the time it takes us to recognize the change. So my last point here is, no matter what's going on in your life, no matter what changes are happening, whether they're conscious, unconscious, or forced upon you, thrust upon you from outside, no matter what, God is at the center of everything. God doesn't know anything about strife. God doesn't know anything about struggle or pain. God only knows perfection. And so when we can place our attention on God and recognize that no matter what changes are going on, God is timeless and changeless and doesn't change up on us, doesn't say, no, you can't have that. God's answer is always yes. When we recognize that, and when we focus our attention on that, then nothing in this world that has changed can affect us. It might affect everybody else in the world, but it doesn't affect us. That's where I come to my place of peace here in my neighborhood. It isn't that things don't change. It's that I can be peaceful in whatever changes are coming. Because I have a sense that this is my safety. This is where I know that I'm safe and secure, because this is where I celebrate God's presence. God is all there ever has been, all there ever will be, and all there is right now. Okay? So that's where I start my prayer. So this week, can you do me a favor and just be aware of all the changes, whether they're conscious, unconscious, thrust upon you? Just practice serenity, courage, and wisdom. Can you do that this week? Awesome. Let's have a prayer. In this moment, I turn my attention to the infinite power, the infinite presence of God, to that place within me that knows beyond human understanding just how powerful, how present, how loving the beingness of God is. That as I turn my attention to it, I know without a shadow of doubt that God is all there ever has been, all there ever will be, and all there is operating right here, right now. Only God. And so that's where I find myself, in the midst of God, my very essence, my very life, my very being. It is who and what I am. And every thought, every action, every deed is guided and led by that wisdom of the ages that is God within me, flowing through me. And when I am led by that, nothing is impossible. And so I know that same truth to be so for this team that God has blessed me with, for Faith and for Tina and for Oz and for Lynn, because I do know that we are one in the presence and power and beauty and life of God. And that wisdom of the ages flows through us so perfectly to do the things that need to be done by us as human doings so that God's message flows through us. So we are all one. And that includes anyone who is watching this, whether that be in real time or later on. For we are one in that infinite power, that infinite presence of God. There is no place where one leaves off and the other begins. There's only that one power, one life, one presence, one being, and we are of it. Mitakuye Oyasin, all my brethren, we are all related. We are all one. And so this coming week, I know, is just absolutely blessed with an awareness of how we are making decisions, how we are affecting change in our lives, whether that be conscious, unconscious, or whether the world is changing around us and thrusting us into a change. That we maintain serenity to accept the things we cannot change. The courage to change those beliefs, those perceptions, those things that keep us from our wonderful reality that we know is ours to experience. And the wisdom to know the difference, the wisdom of God. I know we are blessed with these experiences this week because that is the truth behind any condition. God's presence, God's beauty, God's love, God's life. And so I claim that right now for every name that is in the ministry of prayer, because I do know that whatever challenge they are experiencing, God is the underlying truth, the power and the presence that has more power than that condition ever could. So I pull back the veil and I reveal that truth and I accept it and receive it in their name as good and very good. I claim it and name it. And so my heart fills with gratitude to know that this is so, to let this be, to be of service in this way, as I just let this be. And so it is. Whew. I never want to quit praying. I would just like to stay in prayer. Could we just stay in prayer for the rest of the day together? Oh my goodness. It feels so good. Anyway, now is the opportunity to receive our opportunity to receive your gifts, tithes, and offerings, and your opportunity to express gratitude for that which you have already seen in form, and that which you may have created in conscious mind and is in the subjective material waiting to come into form, which you have already created. Excuse me. It's your opportunity to instigate the law of circulation into your life. That's why we give. Not because I need new shoes or a new car. Not because I need to pay staff. Not because, any of those reasons. What we're doing when we tithe is we are instigating the activity of the law of circulation in our lives. And so that is the place from which I would like you to give. Okay. That perception, that feeling. So here we are. Go to www.oasiscsl.org. It's on the screen and in the comments. About 2/3 down the page is our offering affirmation, which we're going to bless the giving with. And then there's a contribute now button underneath. So it doesn't matter whether you're listening to this in real time or if you are watching this later, you can go to www.oasiscsl.org and say this offering affirmation with me. Somehow that's a mouthful today. I don't know why. You ready? Go to 2/3 down the page. You'll see the offering affirmation. This perfect gift is spirit in form, circulating and blessing all it touches. Freely I give and joyously I receive. And so it is. And now, let me just tell you that we have a ministry of prayer that you can put, for instance, today, you can in the comment field tell us what you'd like prayer for. And we have this wonderful team of licensed practitioners, which I refer to as the God Squad, from coast to coast, who will pray every day on that request for a week. So if you would like prayer for something, put it in the comments section. Or if you don't want it to be public, please let one of us know by Facebook or whatever, message us and let us know. And Faith will put that on the private facing group page in Facebook, where our God Squad gets the prayer requests from. If you would like to participate in the God Squad, you don't necessarily have to be a licensed practitioner. It helps, but you don't necessarily have to be. As long as you are willing to do affirmative prayer and do it every day for a week and keep these prayer requests confidential. I'm sorry, I have to see what she's chewing on. She's chewing on her baby. Okay. She has this little toy. We call it her baby. Anyway, I don't know where I was. Oh, if you would like to participate in the God Squad, as long as you're willing to keep those requests confidential and do affirmative prayer every day for an entire week on all of those requests, just say yes in the comment, and Faith will add you to the God Squad Facebook page. All right. And then if you would like more information, you'd like to be part of our online community, type more, and she will make you part of the group that is our public-facing group page on Facebook. That's where we post everything before we post it anywhere else, to let people know what activities, classes, and that kind of thing. And please know that Oz is available at the very end here after the service for our 1-minute miracle. It's not a time for counseling, but it is a time where you can let him know what kind of challenge you're experiencing. Yes, Mama's busy. Let him know what kind of challenge you are experiencing, and he will stop, drop, and pray with you right then and there. You can reach him by video chat. If he doesn't answer right away, he's probably on with someone else, so just wait a few minutes and and then try again. Also, please know that our licensed practitioners are available for a fee for spiritual guidance, by appointment for a fee for spiritual guidance. There we go. You reach out to them through Facebook or whatever. Let them know you would like an appointment. Between the two of you, you arrange payment, whether by PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, however that works. Set an appointment, and they will reach out to you by video chat at your appointed time. So Brooks and Bailey has these wonderful bracelets that hardly ever fall off. I've been wearing this one like a year. That's the first time it's ever fallen off, just saying. I love the clasp on it. All the proceeds benefit Rocky Mountain Lab Rescue. You can get a hold of her through brooksandbailey0307@gmail. Faith?
And then it is almost giveaway time, guys. So go follow our Instagram at the Mystic Brew 303 on Instagram and Facebook for your chance to win. I've also got a website, and it's themysticbrew.com. We've got intention jars and bath salts that are great for any manifestation that you are working on currently in your spiritual practice. So definitely go check it out.
Thank you. I have here one of her intention jars. And this one is for prosperity. So whenever I am thinking about prosperity, I have this with me just to give me something to focus on. It helps with your intentions. All right. As an adjunct to that, we have Angel Renee, who has an Etsy store, I think, whatever that store is. Faith has that information in the comments right now. And her intention candles, again, work the same way as the intention jars, are $25. And the tea bags, which you put in the bath with you and work the same way, are $10. So reach out and grab some of that good stuff, because it's all good. It's everything that we talk about here is good for your soul. I want to shout out to Reverend Fairy Elaine Silver to ask you to go to her website. You will have to contact her to purchase anything, because she's traveling all over the United States singing, and she can't change her website to tell you how to send money. So you'll have to reach out to her, and she'll tell you how to pay for it, how to how to get it shipped, whatever. She runs around the world with her trunk full of CDs. So. And then also Karen Drucker, whose website does work, and you can pay right then and there. You can buy it by the song, by the CD. You can get a songbook, and some of the songs include American Sign Language. We love to support those that support us. If you wanted to do the song that I was talking about, The Winds of Change, if you want to purchase that one, it is on the Joy of Love CD. And the workbook. And the workbook has not only the lyrics, but it also has the music. So in case you read music. I don't read music. Lynn does. Also check out our website, www.oasiscsl.org. You can get information about our practitioners there. You can see the videos for the last 1.5 years sermons, or audio sermons for years prior. We're also on YouTube and on SoundCloud. YouTube has the videos from the last 1.5 years. SoundCloud has the audio files from previous, all under S. Tucker. So that's how you're going to search for it. All right. Right now we're going to move into our closing song. Remember this song. It is a great meme to get stuck in your head.
So blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
God, come with us and go with us. And I know that the blessings of God are with us right now and always. As we go forward into the week, the blessings of God within us and around us continue unabated. No matter what changes come and what changes go, God is always there, moving us forward, living in us as us. And I know this is a good thing. And for that blessing, I give great thanks. And I let it be so. And so it is.
So it is. I don't know why we're having such technical difficulties today, but it is the way it is. Stay safe, wear a mask, get vaccinated. Be back here next week, every week, 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time on Sunday. We love that you were here. Thank you for being here. Until next week, we love you. Bye.